Hello everyone. Just look around you. You see different variety of life forms, like different animals and plants. Now think about extremes. The frozen silence of cold mountains, the dense green deciduous forests, the vast oceans, and even the burning heat of hot springs. Life also exists in these places. Next, now imagine that you are seeing a galloping horse, the migrating birds, and attacking shark. These sights impress us and also make us stop and ask a fundamental question: what exactly is life? When we ask what is life, we are actually asking two very different questions. One, the philosophical question: what is purpose of life? It is a beautiful deep question, but it will be answered by philosophy and religion. We are not interested in it. Other is the technical question: what makes a living thing different from a non living thing? As scientists, we focus on this second question. We look for the technical boundaries that separate a blade of grass from a grain of sand. To answer what is living, we have to first look at how life behaves. It is not just about big animals, it is about interaction. We see interaction at two levels: at the micro scale, that is, inside every single cell, there is a molecular traffic where millions of molecules move, react, and build. At the macro scale, we see ecological conflict and cooperation. This conflict or cooperation happens between members of the same group or between the members of different communities. Life is defined by this constant activity and the relationship between the parts of organism and also the whole organism. So, as we move forward in our study, keep this in mind. We are not here today to find the meaning of life. Instead, we are here to define the mechanisms of life. In this process, we are looking for the specific characteristics like the growth, the movement, and the chemistry or interaction. Next, let us see about diversity in living world. Now, first imagine you are standing in a small garden and observe surroundings. You see a few potted plants, some insects, and maybe your pet dog. How many life forms you saw? Three. Now change your imagination. Imagine you are walking into dense tropical forest. Suddenly the number of living things explodes. You are surrounded by many organisms. Some are huge, some are small, some are so tiny that they are invisible to your naked eye. Then you sit and ask, how many types of different organisms are there on Earth? The answer is currently scientists have described between 1.7 and 1.8 million species. This incredible variety is what we call biodiversity. But here is the catch: this is not the final number. If we explore more of our planet, the number keeps growing. With millions of species around us, we have one practical problem, that is language. In your hometown, you might call a bird by one name. A few hundred kilometers away, it has a different name. In another country, it is something else entirely. If scientists cannot agree on what to call an organism, they cannot study it together. To fix this problem, we use two vital steps. First is identification, correctly describing an organism so we know exactly what it is. Second is nomenclature, giving it a standardized universal name that should be same in Tokyo or New York or in New Delhi. Now comes the question, how do we name them? We use a system called binomial nomenclature. This system was created by Carolus Linnaeus. Let us take the mango as our example. Its scientific name is Mangifera indica. Mangifera is the genus. It tells the group it belongs to. Indica is the specific epithet. It tells the specific type of mango. There are four simple rules for these names. First, they are always in Latin. Second, the first word, genus, starts with capital letter. The second word, species, starts with lowercase. If you write them by hand, you underline them separately. If you print them, they are printed in italics. Fourth, sometimes you will see Lin at the end. That just means Linus was the first person to describe it. Now let us think that we decided to study about all 1.8 million living things. Since we cannot study 1.8 million things one by one, we use classification. This is simply grouping things based on what we can see. When I say the word mammal, your brain instantly pictures animals with hair and external ears. You don't picture a fish. Next, ever wondered why biology uses words like taxon and taxa instead of just saying groups? It sounds complicated, but it is actually just about how we organize things. Let us head to a school to see how it works. Imagine you are standing in a busy school hallway. If I say, everyone wearing a blue backpack, stand over there, I have just created a group. It is a collection of people based on common trait, blue backpack. But people with blue backpacks is not an official part of the school's record. It is just a random group. Now, let us look at the official school directory. You see class 10A. You see inside, you see people belong to class 10A. That is a taxon. A taxon is a group, but it has a specific place in a formal system. In biology, mammals is a taxon, insects is a taxon, and even kingdom Animalia is a taxon. Whether it is a big category or a small one, if it has an official rank in the hierarchy, we call it a taxon. So what about taxa? That is just the plural. If I point to class 10A and class 12B, I am talking about two different taxa. In the same way, dogs and cats are two separate taxa. Now we will see the coolest part. A taxon can live inside another taxon. Think about it. Class 10A is a taxon. High school is also taxon. Class 10A belongs to high school. So high school is a higher level taxon. And this high school is one among many high schools in the town. Town is also taxon. Town is higher level taxon than high school. So taxa can exist at different levels. Let us take another example. An Alsatian, that is German Shepherd, is a taxon. But it belongs to the taxon dogs. Dogs belong to the taxon mammals. Mammals belong to the taxon animals. The whole process of organizing life into these groups is called taxonomy. In the old days, humans classified things based on utility. Can I eat this? Can I wear this? Like that. Scientists go deeper. They use systematics. This doesn't just look at what an animal looks like, it looks at evolutionary relationships between them. It is like looking at the family tree of all life on Earth. By using characterization, identification, classification, and nomenclature, we move forward from a world of confusion to a world of organized scientific understanding. Next time you see a plant or animal, don't just see a thing. Think to which taxon it belongs at different levels. That leads us to taxonomic categories. Imagine you are climbing a ladder. Each bar of that ladder represents a step. In biology, classifying a living thing is not a one step process, it is a series of steps. This ladder is what we call the taxonomic hierarchy. Every single step on this ladder represents a rank or a category. We call each step a taxonomic category. When you look at one rank or step, we call that a taxon. Let us take insects as an example. Insects have three pairs of jointed legs. Because they share these specific biological traits, they form a recognizable group. This group is given a rank in our system. Scientists across the globe have agreed on a standard set of steps for our ladder. Whether you are studying a giant blue whale or a tiny moss plant, we place them into these 7 common steps. Starting from the very top step and moving down to the bottom step, they are 1. Kingdom, 2. Phylum, 3. Class, 4. Order, 5. Family, 6. Genus, 7. Species. Species is the lowest, most basic category. Every living organism on Earth, from the grass in our head to the pets in our home, has a place in each of these 7 steps. So, how does a scientist actually place an animal into family or an order? The secret lies in characters. To categorize an organism, you must first have a deep knowledge of its characteristics. We look for similarities and dissimilarities or differences. By comparing these traits, we can decide if two organisms belong to the same step of ladder or if they need to be separated. The species level is our foundation. It is the most specific unit where organisms are the most similar to one another. Now let us talk about species. To understand the vast library of life, we have to start with the smallest unit, the species. In biology, we consider a group of individual organisms that share fundamental similarities to be species. But how do we separate two species apart? We see morphological differences. You can easily separate a lion from a leopard, even though they look somewhat similar. Those physical details are the boundaries that define a species. Think back to our talk on binomial nomenclature. Every scientific name has two parts. The second part of that name is the specific epithet. This is the tag that identifies the specific organism. Let us look at 3 famous examples. One is Mangifera indica, which is mango. Second is Solanum tuberosum, which is potato. Third is Panthera leo, which is lion. In these names, indica, tuberosum, and leo are the specific epithets. They are the labels for the most basic level of classification. Now, let us look at the first word in those names. Mangifera, Solanum, and Panthera. These are the genera, the plural of genus. A genus is a higher level of classification. Think of a genus like a family surname for closely related species. One genus can have many different species under it because they share a common ancestor or similar body plans. For example, the genus Panthera includes the lion called Panthera leo. Also, it includes the tiger known as Panthera tigris. The genus Solanum includes the potato, Solanum tuberosum, but also includes other plants like Solanum nigrum, which is a black nightshade, and Solanum melongena, which is a eggplant. They are different individuals, but they belong to the same club because they share strong physical similarities. Let us look at ourselves. Every human being on the earth belongs to the species sapiens. Let us think our name is sapiens. We are grouped into the genus Homo, means our surname is Homo. Therefore, our scientific name is Homo sapiens. If we are sapiens, who can be other species under genus Homo? At present, only sapiens exist, rest got extinct. Those species include habilis and erectus. So their name is Homo habilis and Homo erectus. To summarize, the species is the specific group of individuals that are almost identical in their fundamental features. The genus is the broader category that groups these similar species together. Think of a genus as a collection of closely related cousins. It is a group of multiple type species that share many more characteristics with each other. In scientific terms, we call a genus an aggregate of closely related species. It is where the similarities between different types of life become very obvious. Let us look at how this works in real world with two very different examples, plants and big cats. In the garden, think of a potato and brinjal, which is an eggplant. They are two completely different species. When you see both, you would not confuse one for the other. You can tell they are different. However, they share so many structural similarities, like similar flower structures, leaf arrangements, and genetic lineage, so that they both belong to the same genus Solanum. Next, in the wild, now think of the world's most powerful hunters. The lion, which is Panthera leo, the leopard, which is Panthera pardus, and the tiger, which is Panthera tigris. Each of these is a distinct species, but they share features like retractable claws and specific skull shapes. Because of these common traits, they are all gathered under one umbrella genus called Panthera. Now, here is the interesting part. Why is not a house cat in the same group as lion? While they are both cats, big cat lion belongs to genus Panthera, which can roar. Domestic cats belong to genus Felis, which can purr. Lion is scientifically different from domestic cat. Next, we will talk about family. We have looked at the individual species and the closely related genus. Now we move to the next level, the family. As we climb higher, the groups get bigger, but the similarities between the members start to decrease. Think of it this way. Siblings in a house are like species, they look similar. Cousins are like genus, still have some similarities. But a family is like an extended clan. Everyone is related, but the differences are much more obvious. In the world of plants, scientists don't just look at one trait. They characterize a family based on two things. One is vegetative features, like leaves and stems, Second is reproductive features like flowers and seeds. For example, take three different groups: the solanum for potatoes, the petunia, and the datura. On the surface, they seem quite different, but because they share some specific flowering patterns, they are all gathered into large plant family called Solanaceae. Let us look at animals. Remember our big cats. The genus Panthera contain lions and tigers. The genus Felis contain our small cats. Even though they are in different genera, they share enough cat-like traits like their teeth and body structure to be put into the same family, Felidae. But what happens when we compare a cat to a dog? You will notice some similarities. They are both four-legged carnivores, but you will notice many more differences in their claws, their snouts, and how they hunt. Because the differences outweigh the similarities, they are split into two distinct families: Felidae for the cats and Canidae for dogs. As you move from species to genus to family, the number of shared characteristics decreases. A lion is almost identical to another lion. A lion is somewhat similar to a house cat. A lion and dog share only a few broad traits. The higher we go, the more diversity we find within the group. As we climb higher up the taxonomic ladder, next we reach a level called the order. Think back to the lower steps: species, genus, and family. Those levels were based on many specific shared traits. But as we reach in the order, the rules change slightly. Because it is a higher category, we identify an order based on an aggregate of characters. This is essentially a collection of different families that share just a few broad similarities. At this level, the common traits are much fewer than what you would find in a single family, but they are still significant enough to link them together. Let us look at how this works in plants. We previously mentioned the family Solanaceae, which includes potatoes and peppers. Now let us introduce another family, Convolvulaceae, which includes plants like morning glories. On the surface, a potato plant and a morning glory look quite different. However, they are both placed in the same order called polymonials. Why? Primarily because of their floral characters, the way their flowers are structured. It is that one specific aggregate trait that bundles these different families into one order. In animals, the concept is even easier to visualize. Remember how we separated cats and dogs into two different families, Felidae and Canidae. While they are different enough to have their own families, they share a very important lifestyle and physical toolkit. That is, they are built to eat meat. They have similar teeth, digestive systems, and hunting instincts. Because of these shared carnivorous traits, the cat family and the dog family are both grouped into the same order, carnivore. We are now reaching the upper steps of our biological ladder. We have moved from the specific species through the genus, the family, and the order. Now we arrive at the class. This category bundles together different orders that might look very different on the outside but share a fundamental way of functioning on the inside. Let us look at ourselves and our pets to understand this. Think of the order Primata. This group includes monkeys, gorillas, gibbons, and humans. We share things like forward facing eyes and highly developed brains. Now think back to the order we just discussed: carnivora, the meat eaters like tigers, cats, and dogs. At first glance, a gorilla and a tiger don't seem to have much in common. One eats fruit and lives in social troops, the other is a solitary hunter. However, they both belong to the same class Mammalia. Why? Because they share class level traits and that are more ancient and fundamental, such as having hair or fur and nourishing their young with milk. The class level ignores what they eat or how they move and looks at how they are built. While we have mentioned primates and carnivores, class Mammalia has many other orders within it as well. Think of rodents, bats, and even whales. Even though a bat flies and a whale swims, they are both part of the same Mammalia class because they fit that specific biological blueprint. It is a category that includes related orders. It focuses on fundamental biological blueprints rather than the specific lifestyles. Now, next step is phylum. At this level, we are not looking at whether an animal has fur or scales. We are looking at the fundamental way its body is built from the inside out. Imagine a diverse lineup of animals: fish swimming in a lake, frog, which is an amphibian on a lily pad, snake, which is a reptile in the grass, bird in the sky, and a dog, which is a mammal in your home. On the outside, they could not look more different, but if you look at their internal design, they all share two master features. First is a notochord, a flexible rod like structure that supports the body. Second is a dorsal hollow neural system, a central nervous system that runs along the back. Because they share these deep structural foundations, all of these different classes, fishes, amphibians, reptile, birds, and mammals, are grouped into one single phylum, Chordata. Now, a quick note on terminology. Biologists like to keep things interesting. While we use the word phylum for animals, we use a different word for plants, that is division. Just like in animals, a division in the plant kingdom bundles together different classes that share a few broad fundamental similarities in how they grow and reproduce. We have finally reached the top step. After climbing through species, genera, families, order, class, and phyla, we arrive at the highest and broadest level of all, the kingdom. At this level, the diversity is almost unimaginable. Every single animal we have discussed, from the tiny insect with the jointed legs to the massive blue whale, is gathered together into one giant house called Kingdom Animalia. Similarly, every plant, from the smallest moss to the tallest redwood tree, is placed in Kingdom Plantae. These are the two great empires of living world. Now that we can see the whole ladder, there is one golden rule you must remember. It is about the relationship between the level and the similarities. At the bottom, that is species, organisms share the most characteristics. They look almost identical and are very closely related. At the top, that is kingdom level, organisms share the fewest characteristics. A human and a jellyfish are both in kingdom Animalia, but they share very little in common compared to human and chimpanzee. The rule is this: as you go higher from species to kingdom, the number of common characteristics decreases. This makes classification at the top much more difficult and complex because the relationships are so good. You might wonder, is 7 steps enough for millions of species? Taxonomists actually thought the same thing. To make the system even more scientific, they often use subcategories like subspecies or suborder. These extra off steps on the ladder help scientists place organisms with even more precision. Let us review the ladder one last time. We start with the species. where individuals are almost identical. We move up through genus, family, order, class, and phylum. Finally, we reach the kingdom, the broadest group of all. The lower you are on this ladder, the more traits the members share. The higher you go, the more different the members become, and the more complex is to find their common link. This hierarchy is the map we use to make sense of the 1.8 million we know.